Hi, it's Fiona. I'm Narrowboat Girl's mum. This is going to be a rare appearance. Normally, this channel is for Emma and for bright and chirpy videos showing her sort of editing skills and what we travel and to be really positive. But I wanted to come on today and just deal with an issue that is really sort of troubling me at the moment, because this issue has happened to us before. And I didn't really want Emma to deal with this as an issue. When Emma was at school, she did suffer some bullying. As a parent, I wanted to obviously sort of teach her how to deal with it, how to sort of stand up to bullies. And I feel that this is a time for me as a parent to show by example that there are elements of bullying in our community and around our community that really needs to be dealt with. So I'm sorry if this is a bit of a serious video. If you wanted to just see sort of cruising and all the happy stuff that we normally do, then obviously feel free to sort of click on to one of Emma's normal videos. But as I say, I wanted to, as a parent and as a boater, just to sort of deal with this issue. So last year, when we went into lockdown, we did a video about a local sort of family, particularly the man, who was hassling us to move during lockdown. We've obviously always complied with all the rules of lockdown, and when the CRT send out the messages to people to say that to only move for essential travel, we take that seriously. And what we try and do is find a spot where there's access to water and to food, where we can be kept safe, and also where we can have sort of good internet signal if possible, because obviously Emma's homeschooled and she needs to have access to her online learning. So we like moving. So we, after the lockdown, we moved down the Shropshire Union Canal, Staffordshire and Worcestershire, Trent and Mersey, Coventry, and we've ended up on the Ashby. So we've never had an issue with not doing the miles that we're expected to do every year. We did have a time just before lockdown last year when I had to stay in one place. We still moved, but we stayed in one place where we were on a bus route because I needed to access medical attention. I had to have a small operation, and so we contacted the CRT, and they were more than happy for us to sort of stay in one area in order for me to access that medical help. So normally the rules are, particularly in winter, we're supposed to move every 14 days. We came to this spot in Hinckley before the lockdown. We needed our engine serviced, and people were, engineers and things were a little bit behind on sort of servicing because of all the lockdown and a very busy season. We arranged to have our engine serviced here with RCR, because obviously we didn't want to go into winter without our engine being serviced, and they highlighted a few things that really needed to be dealt with. And again, we didn't want to sort of particularly be traveling a lot with things in our engine not right, so we contacted the CRT and said, please can we just stay here for like a little while just to get our engine sorted. It's easy for the RCR people and then the canal contracting people to get access to our boat. And it just it made sense to stay here, and we had written permission to stay here. Literally just as that written permission expired, we went straight into lockdown, and obviously we're then told that we were not supposed to move unless for essential services. Now here we have a water point that we can access, but we also have, because I'm a single parent, I'm allowed to form a social bubble, and we have a friend here who has a car who is able to take us shopping, sort of once a week or so that we can top up on food, and we're allowed to have contact with that person because they're part of our social bubble. But before lockdown, our intention would have been to have sorted our engine, and then we would have carried on cruising up the Ashby, and then we would have probably come back here in a month's time. But obviously with the lockdown, we ended up staying put for this month. At the end of lockdown, it's a little unclear because we're in tier 3. They say that the 14-day rule starts again, so the mooring we're on, we have another 14 days after the lockdown ended. We're actually we're not completely sure what our plans are, because our friend's dog needed a very serious operation and he needs some support with it. So if that support is still needed, when our 14 days ends, then we will contact the CRT and we will put our case to them and say, can we stay a little bit longer to help our friend? Also, we are getting support from having this support bubble. Like everybody, this has been a difficult time for everybody. We haven't actually, we have family, but I think I've seen my brother once. So we're in tier 3 here. My brother's in tier 3. I don't know if we'll be, I know there's some relaxation rules for Christmas, but it is limited to certain households, and he obviously has other family members to see as well. So, we will probably want to stay here, and having our friend as a support, is really helpful at this time when everything's uncertain. We don't know if we're going to go back into lockdown in January. This doesn't necessarily seem the time of the year to be, planning lots of travelling unless you really sort of need to. Emma needs to carry on with her education. We need to get our food, and we've, as I say, we've got easy access to water. But as I said, this is a kind of a difficult time for everybody in the boating community. And the last thing you need is sort of people having a go at you for not moving when, the majority of our not moving has been down to a national lockdown. So yesterday there was an incident with a local boater who's moored on a leisure mooring. So essentially they sort of live there and they go to work and then they come back. And they were, the gentleman was kind of quite unpleasant about our generator because his partner works nights. And they said that we were running our generator all the time. Now in winter, the way it works is that in summer we have solar and we don't need to sort of run engines or generators. But in winter, when there's less solar around, then we can either charge our batteries with a generator or we can run our engine. The generator is a more efficient way, and actually if there's going to be noise, it's a far shorter period of time. And actually we have really good batteries. We have lithium batteries. Our boat might be quite old and a little bit kind of scruffy, but actually I spent our money that we had on a really good system, so we have incredibly efficient batteries. And a lot of the time, even in winter, if we get a sort of a sunny morning, that's enough for us to not have to put our generator out in the morning, and then we just put it out in the evening. Probably at the most, on a really cloudy day, our generator could be out for sort of maybe an hour in the morning, an hour at night, which I'm pretty sure most boaters will realise isn't actually an awful long time, considering we have a fridge freezer, and we obviously charge laptops for Emma's schooling and phones and things. So we don't have TV, we don't have hairdryers, we don't have a lot of electrical things. But obviously in winter you do need to look after your batteries, and you need to keep them charged, otherwise you start damaging them. So we have rules that we're expected to comply with, which is absolutely fine. And if we're not supposed to run engines or generators before 8 in the morning and after 8 at night, and that gives you plenty of time for people to who may be out and about, who need to charge their batteries. And we generally have a very live and let live attitude. We appreciate in winter people have very different systems. Some people don't have solar, some people have old batteries. Some people need to charge their batteries for a long time, and it's just a noise of the cut. Engines and generators in winter is sort of part and parcel of life. We all have to get along. Some people charge their engines or their batteries more in the morning. Some people do it more in the evening. Some people work and come back late and need to put it on. Sometimes there's an emergency and somebody isn't able to run their their engine or generator till later, and we all just try and get along. We all just try and and just cope with the fact that winter can be a little bit hard. We're trying to keep our boats warm, we're trying to keep our batteries charged so that we don't have to keep replacing them. It's a difficult time. So this gentleman and his partner or wife, I'm not sure, was having a go at me about my generator, and I obviously said, if there's issues and if you're working nights, then just let me just tell me when you want it to be quiet, and we'll obviously sort of try and accommodate it. We tend to put our generator out at about 10 because we think, well, it's not too early, but I'm not sure that might be more of a problem. Maybe we should be getting it out earlier because maybe the lady's coming home at 10 o'clock. I don't know. I don't know her working patterns, and we just, I said on at least 2 occasions, please just tell me when can we accommodate your, write it down, your shifts, and put the note on my boat, and we will try and accommodate. We may need to charge in the morning, but we could, maybe we could get up earlier and or put our generator out sort of earlier than 10 o'clock. It's not a problem. We're very fortunate we don't have to put our generator on for hours and hours and hours. But if on a cloudy morning, we would need to put it out in the morning at some point. But this was just ridiculous. This was, they were shouting at me. They weren't coming up with any solutions. They just kept saying that we needed to move, and we just needed to move somewhere else. And I explained about the internet, that we had tried a different spot, but the internet had just literally died, and we couldn't get on anything. And then we just moved back a little bit, and we sort of managed to find a signal. And it is really important, for obviously myself, but also for Emma and for her education, that we, if we can access internet. And they were complaining about us not moving, and I again tried to explain that we are kind of in the middle of a pandemic, and the not moving for a month was not our issue. We are now completely entitled to stay here for another 14 days. We're not breaking any rules. They said that they were reporting us to the CRT. I don't know if they have, but it was very threatening, and I don't, if they contact the CRT and say that we're here when we're allowed to be here, and that we run our generators at a perfectly legal time, I'm not quite sure what the CRT would sort of do anyway. But we just felt like it was exactly what happened to us last time, but this was a householder, but this was a boater who were just pushing us to sort of move on. This is a reasonably popular sort of spot for liveaboards in winter, so they've said they've lived here for sort of 20 years, but I just don't know how we could be the extra noisy people, because we don't have our generator up, and presumably if we move, somebody else may just come and take this spot who will also need to charge their batteries. So there was something about this didn't really make a lot of sense. And then I found out that, and I don't have any proof of this, but that apparently they sometimes leave their mooring and they come over to this side, because their mooring's on the other side, and then because they're opposite us, and they come over here because they're near the water point. They have a long hose and they stay here for the whole of the winter. Now, I don't have any proof of that, but that's the only thing that makes a bit of sense as to why they were saying that I needed to move and I needed to move on, because I just thought the next boater along here is going to need to charge their batteries. So, and I just think this is unacceptable. I just think life is hard enough at the moment. People don't know what's happening. People don't know what's going to happen in the new year. We're all just doing the best we can. But this is bullying. This is unacceptable. To say to another boater, particularly kind of a woman on her own, with a gentleman, kind of shouting at her, when all I tried to do was find solutions, to just really try and bully somebody out of the area. And I'm sorry, I want to put my foot down. I want to say, I don't want to name and shame these people, but, if these people do get to see this video, you are not going to bully me. You are not going to get me to move. If I contact the CRT and ask for extra time and they say yes, then I'm perfectly entitled to do that. We don't break the rules. You can watch our videos. You can see how we've moved. We like cruising, but these are difficult times. And I have a child who has to keep her education going. We need to keep, our food and our health going. And if you want to just come over and have this spot when you've already got a mooring, then tough. It's not going to happen, because, I might look, like a polite woman, but I will stand my ground, and I will, and I will stand up to bullies. And I think it's just time, that we need to send a message out that this is the time for us to be kind to each other. I'm more than happy to accommodate anybody's shift patterns as much as I can, but I won't be bullied, and I won't be bullied into moving, just like I wouldn't be bullied before with that gentleman. And it's just disappointing that yet again this happens, and yet again, when our nations and our world is going through a difficult time, that people are being petty and mean and unpleasant. And I just wanted to make this video, and I'm sorry it's not nice. And as I say, I didn't want Emma to deal with this, and it was disappointing that this gentleman felt that shouting at me in front of Emma was acceptable. I mean, luckily she's kind of quite robust, but as I say, I wanted to teach her that sometimes we need to stand up to bullies, and we need to say, no, we're not going to be pushed around. We will, we will stay within the rules. We will stay within the laws of this land, and we will, we always try and help people. As I say, I felt like this was something that I needed to just say, enough's enough. And, as a community, we need to just sort of stand up and say, yes, we all need to take into account. We don't know the circumstances of boats that maybe don't move or do move. We don't know what their medical circumstances are. We don't know, sometimes people have a bad year. They have family, who are, have difficulties, or, Emma wants to maybe go to college for a year. We may have to look at getting a mooring, or, reducing our travel. You just don't know. We all have ups and downs. We all individually, and we all have ups and downs, in terms of what's happening in the world, and it's just the time to be kind. So anyway, that's the end. Sorry, we will be back to normal kind of cruising videos and jolly things, but as I say, I just felt like, I needed to say this and just say that, enough's enough. Bye.